It's a great day on the pod. Mande Whitaker, who has meant so much to so many of us in the unscripted world, and particularly the camera part of it, joins me on the pod today. There's a lot to unpack here, including the current state of affairs involving production in Los Angeles and California. We spent some time going over her beginnings in reality TV with shows like The Real World and The Apprentice. We also talk about how the unions en masse are reacting to these changes that we are all feeling. We cover a lot of ground, hence the length of the episode, but it's all useful, and if you pay attention, you might learn something. This is B. Smith Second Sticks, and we have speed. Mande Whitaker, welcome to the pod.
Hi. Thank
Hello.
you for having me.
Oh my God. Thanks for being on. I can tell you that when I conceived of this podcast, that you were one of the first, if not the first person that I thought I was going to interview for this. So
that's exciting.
It's
and random.
Exciting and random, I think are really, it's a good way to live, I think.
Yeah.
I just want to, I'm going to blow some smoke here. I just think, and I think everybody knows this, I'm not talking about anything that nobody knows, but I think that you have done more for unscripted, for the workers, for camera people in particular, but I think really for the industry than anybody that I can think of. And you've been doing it for a long time. And even before that, you were on the board of the 600, you were at work trying to, maybe you were trying to make things better for yourself, but indirectly you were trying to make things better for everyone else. Would you say that's accurate?
I mean, yes, I think that, I don't think it's just me. There's a lot of people working on this.
For sure.
I'm just probably the most angry, and I've been the most angry for the longest. Probably, I think I just have been like, what are we doing? Why are we letting ourselves be treated this way? But that's always been my personality since I was a little kid. So all my teachers would say the same thing. But yeah, I think our community, a little less so now, but before, when we first started all of this, was very active and scrappy and ready to be active and making change. I feel like that's falling off now because there's a lot of people who have been in the industry for a while now, but never really had to fight for the things we had to fight for in the beginning. I think that's what's happening, but we're losing some momentum for sure. But I feel like, a lot of people like Don Fleischman and Celine Preston and, people in the working group have been doing this work for nearly 10 years now. So, it's definitely not just me. There's 10 people in the working group, and all the people in the community that take the time to take action when we suggest it. But I definitely feel like at the beginning when you were there and we were all writing to 600 and demanding to be heard was really everybody was really involved. And that's why we were able to get so much done. I think our community really showed up and showed everybody that we expect to be listened to and that we will be involved and we will stay involved. We're not going to be we want this, and then just disappear because we're tired. So I feel like that's been good.
Well, I remember, I think it was 2017, I want to say, I don't know if that's right. It could have been 2016, but I remember the meeting that we had at the 600 where that was when Stephen Poster was the executive director. And I remember them all sitting in front of us. We had probably about 50 people in the room plus another maybe 30 people, that were zooming in. And I remember they probably thought it was going to be okay, well, we'll hear from a couple people and we'll wrap this up in a half an hour. It was about a 4.5 hour meeting and people vented. I remember that. I remember people just being so upset about, I can't get enough hours to get, my benefits and, just all sorts of things. People were really, people were pissed, and rightfully so, because I think you know this better than anybody, reality has always we came into it late, I think, in terms of like the union, and we never really had the numbers, and I don't think anybody really took us seriously for the longest time. I remember I would one time calling and actually talking to Stephen Poster, and I said to him, is there a way to create a sliding scale so, I'm paying dues in the union, but I can't get benefits because I can't, get on enough, union shows. And his suggestion was, well, I think you need to turn more shows union, which, duh. It was like, but
I mean, he's not wrong, but
he's not wrong, but it was just like, I felt like it was just kind of, they weren't really reading our room at all. And I think when we finally came together in mass, we finally organized and we started doing the meeting, and then ultimately, which led to the unscripted work group, I think finally they started to take us seriously. And you, of course, were a big part of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think my first union reality show was in 2001. So they had been in the world for a while, and they had an open enrollment where they waived the initiation fee for reality people also for a few years. And a lot of people got in there. I mean, the union 600 tried really hard to organize reality. The problem I saw back then was that they were coming, we were all very young then. So our health insurance was really cheap. It was like, my health insurance is like $200 a month. So what do I give a shit about your benefits, right? Like their whole thing was joining for benefits. But their scale on the contract for reality was half of what we were making at the time, the hourly amount. Plus it was only an 8-hour guarantee. So there was no incentive for us to want our shows to be union. And that's where I think things got fucked up, is that, back then, I don't know who or what, but they did not try to make a contract that would make us want to be union. They just kept showing us the same contract that we kept telling them, well, I'm going to be making half as much, and then my camera assistant is going to be making double, and I'm going to get a pay cut, and that's just not going to work. And, it was years and years of I gave them feedback all those years because I joined in 2001 when I was on that show that went union, and I worked with them to try to get other people in without the initiation fee. I, tried to explain to them why their pitch wasn't working for us, and their attitude was kind of shitty towards us. So I feel like, they all knew this and they heard this, and the people there at the time just didn't get it. And they thought we were beneath them. And I think that caused a lot of harm that has lasted ever since, because even though our relationship with the local has changed, and a lot of people, there's like people who have seen the change, people who maybe aren't as involved with the local, so they haven't seen the change, and then people who never worked on these shows before things got better. So like the younger people don't understand how we all used to be on flat rates and, get really, really screwed and be in really dangerous situations. And, all of these things that have gotten fixed through our work with the local. I think another issue is that other departments, their locals have less money than ours because they're regional, not national. And so they don't get the same support that we do. So maybe they don't always participate in their locals as much as us. And even when they do and they go to flip a show, a lot of times the operators will be the ones standing in the way of organizing it. And then that screws everything up. There's a lot of like internal politics that some of which are our fault as workers and some are their fault, but also just the mental separation of like, our health insurance does not come from the union. Our health insurance comes from the AMPTP and MPI. It's not the union. So the union has nothing to do with our healthcare. It's just that by being on a union show, we become a part of this employer's healthcare. And so if we're not working for that employer, we're not getting that healthcare. Like I live in Seattle, I'm not going to get Microsoft's healthcare just because I live here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that mental split makes things make more sense for me. I don't know if it's helpful for other people, but it's putting the blame on the employer for the things like healthcare. That's the union can't. The only way a show can become union is if the workers ask for it or the producer asks for it. The AMPTP can't just make it happen, and the union can't just make it happen. It has to be, does that make sense?
It does. And it's also complicated, but it is complicated, right?
Well, yeah, because if we weren't freelance, we would just have benefits through our employer.
Sure.
And we deserve benefits from our employer, even though we're freelance.
Absolutely. So we'll get back into some of this stuff, but I don't want to make it completely about like the unions and everything else, because this is also about Mande Whitaker, the person. So yeah, sorry.
I'm like, I don't care about that part.
Well, people do. And, I think it's important for everybody has an origin story. Everybody has something that I think, our history is an important part of where we are, both as individuals, but also collectively kind of in this moment where we're dealing with a non-scripted world that's decidedly different than the one that we kind of developed. But let me, ask you, how did you get into this business in the first place? Kind of take me back to when everybody was saying, yeah, she's an angry little girl who definitely voices her opinion.
Well, I was in school. I was trying to go. I wanted to go. I don't know. I also going to skip some of it. So I ended up at the Art Institute, and in my first year, there were some girls making origami birds out of these flyers that were for internships. And everybody was making fun. I'm not going to work for free. Fuck all that. And I was like, well, I definitely am. So give me the flyer. And I go, and it's like internship for Real World Seattle. So I went over there and I got the internship. And so I was working for Victor Nelly and Patty Lee were the gaffer and lighting designer, I guess would be the title. I don't know what it was on that show, but
now real quick, that was Real World Seattle. Do you know what season it was? Like in the whole? No,
it was in 97, 90. I can look it up, but
it was pretty early on in the franchise, though, basically.
Yeah. I mean, they came back years later, so it's like the first round in the 90s.
Yeah.
So I was like building keynotes for them, and then at the end of like a month or two, they offered me a PA job, and the PA job paid more than all three of the jobs I had while I was trying to go to school. So I quit my jobs, I dropped out of school, and I went to work on the Real World as a PA. And I just worked my way up through that company. I PA'd that year, but I also would like stay after or try to go out on shoots with them as much as I could as an AC. And then when they started doing the challenges, I was a camera assistant on the first challenge, and then a camera assistant on Real World Hawaii. But I was assisting for the DP, so then I also shot. And then the challenge after that, I was an operator. And so then I just worked as an operator for Buna Murray for however long. And my friend Terry that used to work there also that I met in Seattle was like, oh, you should get in with Mark Burnett because they treat people much better and they pay more and it's bigger shows and it'll be better for your career. So I was like, okay. So she got me an interview over there. I remember I went in because, and I love this guy now, but my interview with the showrunner, I walk in and he's like, you don't look like a cameraman. And I was like, yeah, what gave it away? Like, so, we're talking and he's like pretty, direct, which I like. And so he was like, well, why should I hire you? And I looked at his board of people. Sorry, my AirPod keeps falling out of my ear. he's looking up at his board of people that he's looking at hiring. And I was like, well, if these are the people you were hiring, that guy was my assistant, that guy was my assistant, that guy was my assistant. Like, so I feel like I can do it. Like, I have the same qualifications as these people. So then I got on Apprentice, and I held out. They had been trying to get me on Survivor for a while. I'm not really sure why or who put my name in that pot, but I wasn't really into it. I ended up doing one of them because I really liked the people, the crew. But I didn't love being gone that long. But yeah, so I just worked my way up into that company, and then, how everybody kind of spreads out. And I ended up doing, Fear Factor and Wipeout and stuff with Rupert Thompson, who I met through Matt Kunitz, who was on Real World, so it's all just strings of people from the beginning.
Well, I think the bigger shows were all kind of interrelated that way, I think. So what was the show that turned you union or got you into the union?
It was a show called Murder in Small Town X. It was in Maine in 1999 or 2000. And it was like a murder mystery reality show where the town was made up of actors, but then there's like these reality people get dropped into it and they have to solve a murder. And it was really fun. But the crew, like art department and Grip Electric and stuff, those people had already started organizing it before we even got there. So then the DP called me and was like, hey, the show's going to go union. Are you cool with that? And I'm like, yeah, I don't know what that means, but sure. And then he's like, well, they're going to let you in for free. So you're going to save like $10,000. You don't have to pay an initiation fee. You just get walked in and you pay dues. And I was like, okay, yeah, sign me up. So I did that. Which, I've been in the union 25 years this year, and I've only made my benefits like maybe 10 years.
That's crazy.
On and off.
That is crazy, So
I totally get what everybody's saying and feeling fully.
So now, as far as the shows that you were on, obviously The Apprentice, you were on there for quite a bit of the run, right?
All of it.
The whole thing.
Except for one season, because I was like, for one season, I got kind of fed up and I left, but then I came back.
I don't know if you heard, but the host of that show is now the president of the United States. I don't know if you heard that. Yeah.
It's a fucking nightmare.
Isn't it? It's just awful. I kind of blame Mark Burnett in a sense that, he sort of created the Frankenstein that ended up, tearing apart the countryside.
I blame the American people that voted for him. I think, like, if you watch The Apprentice, where they made fun of him every episode for the entire episode and went, yeah, that's the guy, I'm going to vote for him, then you're a moron. And like, I think our country is full of, I don't know what these people are thinking about, or it makes absolutely no sense to me how anybody could support someone like him.
All right. Well, that's dark. I didn't mean to dip
I'm sorry.
darkly. I know it's my fault.
I just hate him so much.
I know. It's really, he's really made a fucking mess of things. But
it's
anyway.
Really
So that was the early 2000s. So you're pretty much in the industry now. I mean, you're working as. So when did you start? Your period of trying to figure out if things could get better for you, obviously, but indirectly for operators, other people you worked at. How did that come into play?
I feel like I just always did that on every job. And for me, it is important that it is good for everybody. Like, I don't think it's fair to do something for yourself and not include anybody else in that. Like, that's one thing I always hated, is when there was somebody on the crew who would get like better treatment than everybody else because they did something and then nobody else got the benefit. I just think that's bullshit. But I was always really annoying, I think, to people about like, hey, it shouldn't be like this. We should do this or whatever. And sometimes it worked and sometimes it didn't. But I think, like, as long as the presentation is this is the problem I see and this is the solution I see. You know, like when we used to ride in cars with cameras all the time. And I was like, this is crazy. What are we doing? Why are we doing this? And it's not enough to just say, like, I'm not doing that. I have to have a conversation ahead of time with the producer and say, I don't feel comfortable doing that. This is the safety issue I see. This is what could happen. And here are some solutions. So we can still shoot in the car, but like, I don't need to put my life in danger or the cast's life in danger or the production in danger of a lawsuit, right? Like sometimes people just really don't think about things that don't affect them, right? So like they see us doing it all the time. They think it's normal. They think we don't mind because no one's ever bothered to just have a conversation about it. So I found that 9 times out of 10, people were like, oh yeah, that totally makes sense. I never thought about that. Okay, let's do this other thing. And it was fine.
Well, it says a lot about you, obviously, that you were the person or one of the people to speak up, because there weren't too many. And I understand why, especially if you're trying to get your foothold in an industry, you're trying to get work, you're trying to get days. And oftentimes people like us are put in positions where, if you're thinking, if I don't do this, somebody else is going to do it anyway. So it might as well be me, so I can get ultimately the benefit from it. But you do put yourself at risk. But it says, like I say, Well,
I think that's just one of the problems, right? Is like undermining each other. And when one person says something isn't safe, everybody should, show solidarity with that person and say, yeah, we should not do that. Right. Like, so for me, it was like, a lot of times dudes be like, I'll do it, or, whatever. I'm like, good, have fun. Hope you don't get hurt. Like, I don't know what to say about that. Cause it's like, you're trying to think people will complain about getting treated poorly one day, but then the next day they're like, ooh, I'll do it. So it's like, there's only so much you can do.
I think it's that dichotomy of, wanting to be part of a group, but also because we are freelancers and we are, kind of responsible for ourselves in terms of, having to find work. I think the term herding cats gets overused, but I think it really applies to camera people. I think that that is the ultimate exercise of herding cats. But let me ask you this. So you obviously were a proponent of, making things better for people. Did you ever regret any time that you did speak up? And were there any ramifications where they're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said something?
I mean, I think, there's times where like, certain people don't want to hire me because of, because I expect to be treated like a human, and that's fine because I just feel like that created more opportunity for me to network in other circles, right? So like, and circles where I was treated better and more respectfully and safer and all of those things. I think that, like I was on a job one time where we had worked like 14 hours, handheld all day, no fucking second meal. And then when they wrapped us, they wanted my crew back in 6 hours. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I'm not coming back. My crew is not coming back. We'll be back in 10 hours or I don't need to come back at all. And they were like, okay, come back in 10 hours. Like, cool. So I come back. And then the next day when my wrap time came, I heard the ADs go to another channel and they're like, hey, we got to get Mande out of here. She's not going to come back tomorrow. We got to get her wrapped. We got to get her off the floor. We need her for the blah, blah, blah. So, and I felt like some people were kind of annoyed that I was getting wrapped and that I was getting my turnaround. But I was like, on that same show, I had tried to have a meeting with the producers and the camera team to talk about this exact problem. And they said, we hear there's a problem. And everybody goes, no, I don't have a problem with it. So I was like, okay, fuck it then. I'm just going to, make sure I'm wrapped. And, and other people were still getting treated that way. And it was like, I ended up not working for that company much anymore of my own choice, but just because it was like, nobody would stick up for themselves. And it just made me feel terrible because if I stick up for myself, I would get treated better, but nobody else would. And I was like, I don't know. There's other options.
Do you think that? Do you think that? I mean, it seems like things have gotten better and more people will speak up for
Mm-hmm.
themselves. And plus, we're supported by a union,
Mm-hmm.
theoretically, so
Mm-hmm.
we should have that kind of support. But do you feel like even now there's kind of a sort of a laissez-faire kind of attitude among people regarding, safety issues, pay issues,
Mm-hmm.
things like that?
Um, yes, depending on who it is. I mean, not everybody. Like, I think there's just always going to be people who are like, whatever about safety. Um, and that's fine. I don't know. I'm not on that train because the last thing I mean, I'm already giving up my body for work a lot, with injuries and stuff. I don't want to have a catastrophic injury,
Yeah.
or a traumatic brain injury or something like that from some fucking reality show. Um, but I think there are people who I don't know. I think because my dad was a rescue pilot growing up, I think I have like worst case scenario Barbie brain where I'm just always thinking about all the horrible things that could possibly happen. And so I think I am a little more like safety oriented than the average person. But I've done a lot of dumb stuff too. So like, I don't know.
Well, it's an industry, especially when you think about the
Yeah.
Wild West element of reality
Yeah.
television, which
Like hanging out of
Oh
minivans and
yeah,
like,
yeah. I remember
yeah.
I did a shot where I was on a strap. I was carabiner strap on the side of a moving train. That was
Hmm.
yeah, fun stuff like
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
live to
Yeah.
tell the tale.
Yeah.
But
Standing on top of an 18 wheeler. Like,
yeah,
ooh, I
yeah,
know.
I know the shit
Yeah.
we did. But and that's the thing that's kind of like is frustrating is that we were among the people, and I know there were a lot of people in different departments for sure, but a lot of people put their asses on the line to
Hmm.
create this genre.
Hmm.
And yes, we got paid well for it eventually, but on the other hand, that's kind of that's supposed to be the status quo.
Hmm.
You work hard, you create something, and then you're paid for
Right.
your labor, right? And I feel like we're at a point now where it was like, okay, thanks for what you did,
Mm.
and all right, we're gonna, check out now, and good luck.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's hard not to feel like, I mean, there's a bunch of shows I worked on the original version of American Gladiators. That's back somewhere else. I worked on Fear Factor. That's back somewhere else. Like, I mean, a lot of these, a lot of us like are experiencing this right now, but I don't think there's, uh, anything we can do about it. Like, I feel like, I mean, there is, but I think all we can do about it is get this federal tax incentive approved and improve the California tax incentive. I think what Rich said when he was on here was really spot on of like, globalization has happened. There's qualified people all over the world. It didn't used to be that way. I mean, I used to get flown out to New York and put up to do shows, but now there's plenty of qualified crew that lives there. So that
Yeah.
doesn't happen anymore. That's just like globally things have evolved and there's plenty of people to do the work. And so I feel like we just have to go, okay, well, this is what's happening. These are the problems. Let's figure out how to combat those problems and move forward.
So, as far as maybe looking at some of I mean, it's hard to pinpoint anything exactly that has sort of caused this melees, I guess, in our industry, but
Mm,
there's probably a lot of things that could be related to it. When do you feel like things might have been changing? Like, when did you sense that this isn't like it used to be? Like you remember how we would work and then we'd maybe have a few months off and you'd be a
mm-hmm.
little nervous because it's like, oh, I haven't worked in a while, but you weren't completely like
Yeah.
feeling destitute because you knew you had a job coming up and that was going
Yeah.
to eventually there's going to be a call and there's going to be a job
Mm-hmm.
and I'll be fine. But when did you feel like that was changing? Do you have any thoughts about that?
I mean, I think when the Warner Horizon Discovery merger happened, like that was a big one. Um, but also just after COVID and when there was all that work, just before that, I felt like there's way too many camera operators. Like there's so many operators and there's just never going to be enough work for all these people, right? Like that. And when I started learning more about the tax incentives, so then I would say the point where I got really, really scared was probably like beginning of last year, maybe the end of the year before. Just because I was realizing like, oh, things aren't really coming back up to speed. And uh, when we started talking tax incentives, I learned that every other state has reality in their tax incentives with no parameters or whatever. And California was working on their tax incentive and did not want to include reality at all, or game shows, or talk shows, or variety shows, all of which I think provide more employment than any, those combined, their legacy shows, the game shows, the talk shows, stuff like, the variety shows, those are legacy shows. So we need those to stay. They employ a lot of people. And reality shows, I think, we fought really hard to get included at all, but it ended up at like, you have to be over $1 million per episode to qualify. And I understand that it's because they want any work that's covered under the tax incentive to be union work. So those people are getting their benefits.
Yeah.
And I agree with that. But I don't think those people understand how many reality workers are union workers, and that we make an episode every day or every 2 days or every 3 days. So $1 million per episode is not like a scripted show that takes a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks to make one episode. We're talking a day, 2 days, right? So I just felt like, Local 600 was deep in that argument with the Entertainment Union Coalition, but not a lot of other locals even have an idea of how many reality people work on are in their local. So 600 is like leaps and bounds above other locals for the most part, not all of them.
Well, do you think that's because of what sort of what you and others like you and, I was there too. What we did to kind of raise awareness that, hey, we're here, we're dues paying members, we're working on shows that are generating income for you for pensions, Yeah.
And I tried to help people from other locals. I was like, this is what we did. I can share our letter with you if you want to like copy it or whatever. It just is really hard to get other locals active, right? And to get them activated in the way that we were. And I don't really know what to do about that, but I think that's key to us making gains in California, because I think, people love to look down their nose at reality TV, but like, I mean, there's game shows leaving now that are leaving LA that are been there for 30 fucking years. And we said that during the incentive talks last year that we need to include game shows. And there were all these reasons they thought we didn't need to because they wouldn't leave, and now they're leaving. So it's a mess, I think. But it's like, it's evolving. Today I read something, I hope I saved it. I read something today online about a new tax addition to the tax incentive in California.
Now, is that the California, is that, what do they call it? California Program 4.0, which includes both AB 132 and AB 1138, right?
It's in addition to that.
Okay, in addition to that.
It's an additional 200 and some $1 million. I can't find it. Of course I lost it. No. I should have texted it to you right when I was like, I should text it to him right now. And I didn't.
No, that's all right. Well, I'm sure we'll catch up. And people, watching this can certainly look things up on their own. There is something to be said about self-educating yourself in,
Yeah. People just need to be active. Like it feels confrontational. And I know a lot of people are like, I don't like confrontation, or I'm uncomfortable, or whatever, but it's pretty easy. Like I do a lot of like calling my representatives in Washington about things I want them to vote for, and generally you just get their voicemail and you leave a voice message of I'm pro this or I'm anti this and this is why. Write them an email. And it's kind of similar in our world. It's like, go to the membership meetings, call your rep, go to Member Friday, email them in a calm way. I think one of the things is like, people are so ready for a fight. Sometimes it becomes uncomfortable when it doesn't need to be. And I don't know, I just think everybody needs to be active, and nobody's going to save us. Nobody's going to do anything for us. Like a union is a collection of workers working together to improve their circumstances. And so the union is not a third party. The union isn't going to just come in and save us. The union has no way of knowing anything if we don't tell them.
Sure.
So like we have to have a good relationship with them and work those channels.
Now I know that I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, but once we started the unscripted work group, that kind of got a foot in the door for you in terms of your involvement with the union. And I know now that you are serving on the National Executive Board. You're on the Western Regional Officers.
I'm just on the board.
Oh, just on the board.
Okay, Selena is one of the executive
officer,
officers.
Yeah, I was going to mention.
I'm just
Celine.
on the board.
Yeah,
I do like safety committee stuff. Work on like safety bulletins and best practices and things like that.
Does the board recognize its members in different genres, or is it just like we're all in one big pot of soup?
Yeah, one big pot of soup.
Got it. Okay.
And it's good that way, because when we were first running, because there it was like, oh well, if we have this working group, we can fix everything, and we'll put somebody from the board in your group to help you. And then, oh, well, they just kept moving the finish line, I felt like, but they were right, because they were like, if you really want to fix things, you got to get on the board. You got to get elected to the board. And none of us knew anything about that or what it meant or had ever been to a board meeting. So we were like, all right, let's just do it then. I guess this is what we got to do. And it worked. And then when they were going to shrink the size of the board, we were worried that we wouldn't be able to get enough votes to still have a place on the board. So they were thinking about designating a seat for reality. And then we realized, well, we probably can get more than that on our own. And so we felt like it was better to not separate ourselves.
Got it.
And it's been really good. I have to say, like my first board meeting, so many terrible things, like I sat with some people at breakfast I didn't really know, and they were older dudes, and they were talking about how if you don't make your benefit hours, you're just a hack because it only takes 400 hours, which is only like, it is very easy. If every show in your genre is union, then yeah, 400 hours is like 33 days or 40 days or, depending on how long your day is. But like, so I'm listening to them and I was like, well, actually, blah, 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 reality TV. And they're like, well, you just have to organize it. Well, we've tried. And a lot of times it fails. And, so I was already learning like how they couldn't possibly represent us because they didn't understand what our world was like. And the fucking safety committee meeting I went to the first time, this dude next to me was like, oh man, we were talking about like heavy equipment, long takes, heavy equipment. And the guy was like, well, I would just never, hire a female operator because it would just break my heart to watch her knees buckle under the weight of the camera.
Oh my
God. And I was like looking around the room and nobody was saying anything. And I was like, nobody's going to say anything about this. Like I have to be the one. It's my first day. Like Yep. It was crazy. But
Did you
now
say something?
It's like,
you said something, right? I mean,
no, I just
Okay.
laughed and I was like, fuck it. I don't know. I called the rep that was in the room later and was like, what the fuck? Shouldn't you stick up for me? Like, you're my union rep. I don't feel like I should have to say something. I was just baffled. Every time something like that happens to me, I freeze because I'm like, this motherfucker. Like, I can never believe that it's happening. And then I'm just too angry to say anything because I might say, it's a professional setting and whatever, but it's so much better now. It's
okay, good.
a whole new board, like
Yeah.
the evolution of the board since we've been there, and not because of us, but just watching the turnover of new people getting on the board and other people leaving, and the new leadership of staff, is really good. Like, it's just been a really positive change, I think, compared to when we first joined and like when we first got there. I really like and respect the people on the board. They're thoughtful, and they understand because we've been able to tell them and they've been able to listen, and it's really nice, actually.
That's great. I mean, of course, I mean, I still can't believe that people, and there's probably some people who still think that way. I mean, that's
all the time.
just, so, I was going to talk about this later, but since we're talking about it now, let's talk about, I mean, do you feel like there's been a lot of headway as far as women in production, women in camera? I mean, you came in, were there that many women camera operators?
No. And I think that there are more of us that have decades of experience that exist, but I don't think there's more of us on set. And I definitely don't see, like, 9 times out of 10 when I'm looking at people's crew photos, it's just dudes, and then maybe 1 or 2 girls. And but the number, like that thing with Anna, was the first time I was with like men and women, but the women that were there all had at least 25 years of experience. And it was like 7 of us, and there's more. And so I'm just like, I don't understand why every show has only allots like 1 or 2 spots for female operators when there are a ton of experienced people that exist, right? Like, it's insane to me. But I have always known that wouldn't change. Like, that's not a surprise to me. That's just like the lady pocket that people have in their brain.
Yeah. Well, I guess, we're on more of a even playing field. Nobody's working now. So I guess we're all kind of like, we're all in the same boat,
Yeah.
Man, woman, child, orangutan. None of us are getting the calls.
No.
I mean, there's a few calls, but there's not much shows.
Yeah.
I want to shift to a couple things in search of trying to figure out, we're not going to solve any problems, obviously, but we're going to try to like maybe figure out why things are the way they are. I wanted to look at the 2024 negotiations between IATSE and AMTEP, and it seemed like we did pretty good. IATSE came out of it. They had increases to pensions and health plans from streaming, safety provisions, overtime increases. And the thing that I noted, and I think probably a lot of people do because we're in this business to make money, is that they did minimum wage increases. I think I had read, and I don't know if this is accurate, but they matched what SAG-AFTRA negotiated in 23, where they negotiated a 7% increase the first year, 4% the second, 3.5% the third, which is great. It's also sort of on the precipice just before things started to feel like they were changing. Let me ask you this. I mean, do you think that the loss of the shows going away, do you think it's related at all to like negotiations like this at all?
No, I think that, well, there's a number of things. I mean, I think there are unions in other countries, first of all. But other people in other countries developed countries have, subsidized free medical, free education, retirement, all of these things they get through their tax money that we don't get. So our wages have to be higher just to survive, right? So that's number one. People in other countries can afford to work for less amount of wages.
Exactly.
Because literally everything that I'm stressed out about right now, not working, is how to pay for things that other people are getting through their tax dollars, right? So to me, that's the biggest strike. And then the union is like, they exist there too, because even though you have the national healthcare system, a lot of people still have private insurance, but it's much less expensive to pay those premiums than our premiums, because again, like, the market is different. And then the tax incentives, those other countries, um, they have protections in place for the work that happens in their country that's sold to their audiences. So like, there's like a point system. I'd have to look it up, but they do things to protect their work. But they also have these huge tax incentives. They work with the studios trying to, woo them or whatever. And even in the US, it's like California is just so far behind, and almost to me feels like we're just being stubborn, because the fact is, like, New York and New Jersey both have like over $800 million in tax incentives. And they're so close. That's basically $1.6 billion just right there. Mm-hmm. Atlanta has no cap. Both of them include reality TV. So like everywhere is better to shoot than LA right now. And that is, to me, that's the biggest problem, is that financially it just doesn't make sense for them to shoot there. And I don't think it has to do with, I think people saying it has anything to do with unions is just propaganda, anti-union propaganda. Okay. I think if we had universal health care and we had, free education and all of these things, I think we'd be more competitive, but we definitely need the tax incentives for sure. Yeah. And the tax incentive is a net gain in California. For every $1, we actually make $1.07. So like it's a jobs creator. It makes money for the state. There's no reason not to increase it.
So where do you think this, the California Program 4.0, the one that we've kind of talked about here and there, I mean, where do you think it fails? Do you have any opinion on that?
Well,
and is that a indictment of the organization that basically went to work, or is it just another case? I guess specifically because this is a podcast about people who work in the non-scripted industry. Mm-hmm. Is this another case of us getting left behind?
Yeah, for sure. I think that people are being, this is just my personal opinion.
Yeah.
I think people are kind of snotty about reality TV. I don't think they understand it or how it works. I don't think they have any idea how many people it employs. I don't think they have any idea that people spend their whole career in it happily because it's fun and we like it and we like each other. I feel like the Entertainment Union Coalition needs to see some call sheets from the shows that we had in LA that left, so they can see the hundreds of people that lost their jobs and benefits because of it. It's like to not include it, and game shows too. Like, a lot of things that maybe they're not as fancy to everybody, but these are people's livelihoods. Yeah. And it's not all trash. I mean, I listen to people love to be like, reality TV. Oh, but did you watch Love is Blind last night? Oh, and did you see da-da-da? It's like, okay, it's fine. I don't care. I don't need to be like put on a pedestal or celebrated for my work, but I need to work, right? And like, this is all I've ever done. I don't have a college degree. Like, this is where I've spent my life, and I like it. And I like the people that I work with. And it makes me really angry that the people in Sacramento and the people at all the different guilds can't just get on board with realizing that reality TV and game shows, all of it is like an integral part to the industry working. Like, you may be a part of the Actors Guild. Well, those people still come on as guest stars on a lot of these shows, and they come on to game shows and they come on to talk shows. And, it's crazy to me to just ever be like, they're not cool enough, so fuck them. That just is insane. Like, we're union workers too, and we deserve healthcare and we deserve retirement. But I think the only way we're going to get there is for people in reality TV to get their together and write some letters, call some people, like, we got to fight for it. They're not just going to give it to us because they're competing, right? Like, everybody's competing for this little pile of money. Yeah. And everybody in every other genre is writing letters. They're having their friends and family write letters. Like, we're voters, we want this. They're going really hard at it. So we have to go hard too.
Is IATSE doing enough? They have the, 13 unions under their roof, basically. Should they be doing more to encourage people to, is that something that's lacking?
I think they did a lot. They started, so there's there's the Entertainment Union Coalition, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's IATSE, it's SAG-AFTRA, it's the DGA, it's the Teamsters, it's the Writers Guild, it's the Music Federation,
Directors Guild, probably right.
Yeah,
DGA,
IBEW, it's a bunch of people. But there was a whole campaign about the tax incentive that the IA was sending out notices about, and 600 was sitting at. There was so much information and so many ways to help, and here's who to contact, and here's what to say. You had a letter campaign one year, and then we did another one the next year when it got closer, with a pre-written email template, the email addresses of everyone to send it to. I feel like everybody's doing everything they can, except for collectively as humans, we got to fight harder in numbers, in mass.
Well, I think history bears out that the only way you really move the needle on anything is collectively. You have to have the numbers, and we happen to be in obviously tenuous times with a president who is anti-union, and so we're getting no help there. Do you get tired? Do you get tired of the fight?
Yes, all the time. We talk about this all the time in the working group. Should we just quit? What's our thing right now? What are we working towards? We had that big win in the last contract negotiation where we got it was a 10% overall raise plus the 7 and the 3, 7 and the 4 and the 3.5, right? We got this big thing we had been working for, but there's no relaxing. Then it's okay, well, now all these shows are leaving. So what are we going to do? And I like it. I feel like it, for me, taking action helps my anxiety because I get really anxious. I'm the only person paying my bills. If I don't work, then that's it, right? I have to figure it out. So for me, taking some kind of action makes me feel like at least I'm trying, at least I'm doing something. It helps my anxiety a little bit. But yeah, it's fucking exhausting. It was way more fun when everybody was joining in, right?
Yeah.
When we wrote those letters to 600 in the beginning, they got 200 and something letters in one day from people, right? It was impressive. And I just wish that we had the same, push that we had then, to be no, you're going to listen to us.
Yeah. Well, to that end, I'm going to try to see if we can wrap it up on I don't know. I don't want to get too dystopian here, but I would like to see if we can bring it, bring a little positive. Do you have any positive outlook about, we're kind of in dire times and I think we all know this now, but do you have do you see some light coming from somewhere?
I do. I think that a couple things. I think that things are just happening in a different way. With shows like Mr. Beast and The Gamerhood and something that Jimmy Kimmel did with a YouTube guy. But it's a new channel opening up, right, for the kind of shows we make. And they're union, right? They're coming in union. They're Gamerhood was union from the minute it started. Somebody's at my fucking door. I don't answer the door though. If I don't know you're coming, you can fuck right off.
Okay. Got
it. They it's a new way of things happening. They're bringing in an influencer, somebody who basically already has an online show and an online audience, and they just run with that because it's a built-in audience, what a star used to be, right? A famous actor, you knew that they were going to bring their audience with them. So, it's I feel like that's going to be more and more. And that's fine with me. I'm not I'm in no place to be picky
Of course.
about, whatever. As long as we get paid what we deserve and we get treated well and we're safe, then like, let's do it. I also met with somebody yesterday who's working on this like totally, I don't even understand what it was really, but like a branded content overlap betting platform with some kind of reality show competition that you can bet on. I don't get it, but I'm down to do it, right?
Sure.
Like I think it's just a matter of evolving and being open to it. And our skill set is actually like pretty sought after in those worlds. But finding the people and getting connected with them is the biggest obstacle, I think. But I think that, some people will retire, some people will leave the industry, and some people will keep going. There's not enough room for all of us, though. So it's like, that's the hard part right now is I don't remember what the word is, but the recalibrating, and the pivoting into like, how do I pay my bills while the world figures it itself out? Like, that's really hard.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's the dystopian part, I guess.
I know. I'm sorry. I mean, I did last year. I shot like a fucking, sorry for all my cuss words, but I shot this huge, it was a thing at Microsoft, and it was basically this giant Zoom meeting. And there were like, breakout rooms and the main room, and total, there were like 10 camera operators all making $900 for 4 hours or whatever. And it's like, and ACs and audio mixers and all of this. And I was like, all right, well, if the Zoom meetings are hiring camera operators, like, and Microsoft is like cornerstone of AI, we might be around for a while longer. Because if anything was going to be AI, I would think it would be those things.
Yeah.
But, I think it's different. And I don't think it's going to go back to what it was. But I think that, I think it's okay. And like, we just have to figure out what works for each one of us and support each other in the meantime.
Yeah. I have a feeling you're going to be involved somehow. I don't know. No, I know it's exhausting.
Like,
I'm sorry.
I'm trying to. I know. No, I'm just like, I have no other option. Like, I can't even get another job, dude. Yeah. It's like, I don't even know how to work a office stuff. Like,
yeah. Well, listen, I just want you to know how, and I'm speaking for other people and, not just for myself, but how appreciative everybody is for all of the time, the hours, and the effort that you've put in to try to make our industry better than what it was. You've really made an impact, and that's the truth.
Thank you.
And as far as our industry goes, this will embarrass you, but I would put you at legend status. I really would. Seriously, you can laugh, but if there is an industry 20, 30 years down the road, they're going to remember the people who were the pioneers, and you are one of those people. So
thank you. I don't care about being remembered. I just want everything to be better.
Yeah. Well, I think we all do. Well, yeah. My show is better just by having you on. So I want to thank you for taking the time to be a part of this and sharing your thoughts and your ideas,
Thank you for having me. Oh, am I going to mess up your outro if I say one more thing?
No, say it right now. Say what you got to say.
I think it would also be really fun if in the future you wanted to do like a panel discussion of things. I've heard that from a few people who have been listening to your podcast with me. Okay. And they're like, oh, it'd be super fun. So
I think
that was an idea.
I want you to know that I actually have thought of that idea. Yeah. I'm at baby steps right now to, make a podcast, and I'm currently in the red with it anyway, even though there's not a lot of cost, but and there's something.
People are loving it though.
Well, I want people to the thing is I want people to listen and share. The most important thing is obviously listening is the most important, but sharing it with people who aren't even in our industry, because these are labor issues, these are people who are trying to make our way, figure it out pay our rent, our mortgage, pay for our health benefits, put gas in the car. Gas is like $6-7 a gallon in some places. It's fucking nuts.
What could go?
So just, understand that this podcast is about the struggle of people to make a living and to try to figure out how to pivot from what has been sort of dropped in our lap, we've had a good run, but I'm not ready to pack it in just yet. So
no, I don't have enough money to pack it in.
Yeah, retirement. It's better to retire when you actually have money to retire with, I mean, that's the thing. Well, listen, Mande, thank you so much. I got nothing but love for you. And, thanks for taking the time to hang out with us today. As far as everybody else goes, this is B. Smith Second Sticks, and we are speeding. Thanks again to Mande Whitaker for joining us. If you happen to be listening, thanks so much, and please share the word and hit like and subscribe. B. Smith Second Sticks is produced and edited by Brett Smith. Our music is Hit and Run by the Sluts with Nuts and is licensed under an Attribution 4.0 international license. See you soon.